Well, I can tell you, Kobe, we're here. It's Friday Night League. It's now. And I don't think we can move on without talking more about the Damonte and Pobelter matchup. It's an NA mid laner matchup. We've got Golden Glue here on the desk. So first, fresh thoughts from you on what we're about to see here between the two.
Yeah, so I think if you wanted to take like a very general look at it, I would say that Damonte is going to be playing the more team play, do and be Niski kind of style, and Pobelter will be playing a bit more of the archaic style of mid lane. And that's also because of the team they play in. You know, Damonte has this jungler closer to play around. That's someone that you can put resources into, and you can sacrifice for him, and he will make big plays and carry the game. And I kind of expect Pobelter to pick something more archaic, like Azir or Orianna, something that is an individual carry and tries to get its own lead.
I think the term archaic is one I really like, and apologies if my mic is cracking. I will figure this out in a little bit. But I think it's a really good term for what does feel a slightly outdated playstyle. Not like it can't work or that it's outright wrong, but that it is more reminiscent of things that we saw in previous seasons. And I don't think like Pobelter is the poster child for it. I think people like Bjergsen and Froggen and even Jensen a little bit do play that kind of more lane-centric, control mage-oriented style more so than some of the other people who are willing to really go out there and do crazy stuff like Niski on the other end.
Yeah, on that note, probably kind of expanding upon that, we're seeing it erupt more and more, this aggressive style, the mid-centric style. Do you see it having a trickling effect even more so on the LCS League? I mean, Niski setting it, Damonte picking it up, maybe some other ones kind of going in that direction?
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a point where when you play against these teams who have the mid laners who aren't playing this really slow style, your team is kind of going to be curious, like, why are we so behind on tempo? Why is there so much pressure on the map? And you're going to pretty much boil it down to, like, well, their mid laners moving. So this is a style I think a lot of mid laners are learning to get better at. I know Power of Evil is a big one Mark mentioned, where his old style for years was this slow farming style, but recently he's been playing a lot more aggressively, giving a lot more back to his team, and it shows a lot. Like, these are the mid laners that are like top of the league now. So I do think it's a style that is going to be forced in the future, but right now I think there's still a few that are kind of back in their old ways.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point about people updating their play styles. Like, Pobelter is someone who I don't think was ever like the full-on hard focus on himself player. Even back when that was something that was prevalent, he would take his Azirs and roam up to the top side on his Immortals days and stuff like that. And so it is this kind of gradient of what people can fall into in how they're playing, and also what champions you're playing within it. Jizuke is kind of selfish, but he's playing assassin-y things, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's also important to note that it's not necessarily just all in this like mid laners, like they're choosing to do this. Sometimes it's the team they're in, this is their best way to win, you know? Like, if you have someone else on your team who's really good at utilizing a mid move, then you're going to be more likely to move around the map and help your team, right? But if you move around the map and it's not gaining you anything and you're sacrificing, you know, players can be more likely to just be a bit more selfish. So it's not totally just like the mid laner being like, I want to be selfless, you know, I want to take all the resources. You know, there's a bit of like push and pull between like the team needs to do well at utilizing the mid laner if they're going to play a more roamy style.
Well, then let's talk about some of those other elements within the team. Probably, why are the junglers important for us to look at here when also evaluating how the mid laners are going to do?
Because the people who love this playstyle the most are junglers, because this means that you get to kind of do whatever you want because you have someone in your back pocket. And with Damonte backing up Closer here, Closer's already a very aggressive jungler, so Damonte is going to enable that a lot more, so he's going to be able to play his style a lot more and be more successful that way.
Yeah, I've played with Closer. I can definitely tell you, he will tell you to move, and he will make sure you move, or you will know where you need to be. And if you're not there, you can expect to get flamed a little bit.
And I think CLG tried that style a little bit with their Game 1 draft when they had the Nidalee, Jace, and all these other things. They were trying to empower Wiggily to be able to go in, and people were supposed to collapse. It was just a game that didn't work out very well for them. And you can maybe look at the draft as well as maybe needing some improvements. But it is a style I wouldn't mind seeing them try a little bit more. I know in Academy, Wiggily was kind of the vocal point a lot of the times for the early game of CLG Academy when he was playing there. And he had a good Graves, and he was good about playing aggressive junglers. And so empowering is something that I'm hoping to see CLG try to continue a little bit.
Well, we have all of that analysis laid out on the table, which means soon enough, there's only one last thing for all y'all to do, which is to make your predictions. But first, before we do that, I want you to start thinking like a prophet. I'm pulling someone in to help you do that. So let's hear from the only analyst to get complete perfect predictions after week number 1 of the LCS.
Oh, the prophet is back. Now I have been peeping into the future, and if you thought 2020 was crazy already, there is more insanity coming your way. Just wait till October. You have no idea what is in store. Now you're probably wondering, why do I look like this? Well, let me tell you, every prophet is truly just a hipster at heart. And you've caught me at home. I'm quarantined as well. So, I've traded my wizard hat for a toque, the contacts for some glasses, and I've dyed my beard orange. Now the matter at hand. It has come to my attention that every single member on the broadcast, with the exception of myself, has failed to predict the first week correctly. I'm the only one with a 10-0 perfect prediction rate. Come on, guys. Week 1 and you're already sinking your foot in the mud. Fear not, that is why I'm here. I'm here to offer you advice on predicting games. Stick to these and you'll be able to hit 100% prediction rate for the rest of the season. Number 1, when you're predicting a game, ignore the top lane. That's right, if one of you, son of a guns, makes another win condition involving the top lane, you're wrong. Number 2, you gotta have a spectrum. That's right, a spectrum. On the one hand, you got hungry players. And what do hungry players do? Well, they play to win. They want it. They play to win. And on the other side, well, you got sad players. And what do sad players do? They play not to lose. So you gotta pick all the hungry players and stay away from all the sad players. It's so simple, guys. And third, to anybody out there that is on the fence about what to predict and who to listen to, well, let me tell you, you're better off tossing a coin, okay? Tossing a coin. Don't listen to Mark or Polly. Just toss a coin instead. And last, but certainly not least, you have to have been there. You have to have been there from the start. You have to know these players, their dreams, their aspirations, the ups, the downs, the ins and outs. And once you truly know, you can just put that into your story notes and get your damn predictions in order, guys, because next week is only gonna get easier. And if you don't get it right, I'm gonna have to come back and help you out some more, and I've got shit to do. Yeah.
Wow, that was intense. Wow.
If there's like one thing to take away from that video, it's in isolation and in quarantine, just make sure you guys go outside, interact with people, see the sun. There's things can happen to you if you just stay by yourself all day. Be safe.
Yeah, that was really good motivation for me to do better, because I don't want to have to ever see Prophet Crumbs again. That was really good motivation. You know, I don't know if the advice was great, but it at least inspired me to try and get a perfect record next week.
Oh my, I was dying a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I appreciate the passion from the Prophet there, but you all have the tips in your brain. Now you can make those expert predictions. So, Golden Glue, between this matchup that we have CLG and Golden Guardians, who do you have taking it?
Yeah, I think Golden Guardians is probably going to take this one. I think Closer's probably just going to run over the game, pick some kind of carry jungle, and that'll be it.
Fair enough.
I think it's funny because I think Crumbs would have predicted CLG because he's holding their stock. So I don't know if we're going with the Prophet, but yeah, I'm going Golden Guardians too, excuse me. Yeah, I'm agreeing with Golden Glue. I think this is a pretty heavily favored matchup where they stack up relatively similarly in a lot of the roles. I think mid lane is the one where we do see some of the biggest differences in style, and maybe top lane a little bit too. Rune does have some good games, but I think Damonte and Closer together will really overpower the mid jungle 2v2.
I mean, remember what Crumb said? Ignore the top lane. So don't even talk about it, Mark. But at least the jungle is a big mismatch, especially because in this meta, the early game is so controlled by the jungler. I think if you lose early game that hard, which Closer should be able to win against Wiggily, it's going to be a tough comeback for CLG.
I predictions are locked, all at the command of the Prophet. So that leaves nothing else for us to do but head into CLG versus Golden Guardian. So casters, take it.
Thank you very much, Latigress, and welcome everybody out there in the audience on this lovely Friday evening. My name is Clayton Captain Flowers Reigns, and I am joined by my brother on another jungler, Mr. Sam Kobe Hartman Kinsler. How you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing great, Flowers. Actually recorded some specialty jungle stuff a little bit earlier, so if you're putting me on a jungler, my pick is Fiddlesticks now.
You're a Fiddlesticks player.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we'll actually see it in this quite yet, but I also know that a lot of the pros have been playing tank Fiddlesticks in the solo lane, Frozen Heart and Spirit Visage. So I'm hoping we get some spicy picks.
I was playing 3 o'clock in the morning friend games with Prismal from 100 Thieves Academy the other day, and he actually played that. And at first I thought he was inting me, but then he did really well. And I was like, wait a second, this isn't an int after all. So I'm glad to hear that that's coming from more than just one brain around here.
Oh, yeah. Definitely a possibility.
But let's go ahead and jump back into what we're talking about here today, because we got CLG going up against Golden Guardians. The desk seems to be pretty convinced that it's going to come down to a lot in between these junglers, particularly Closer stepping up and doing a lot of work for the Guardians.
And it's hard to disagree with them, especially after seeing week one. Golden Guardians, not only is Closer a very strong jungle player, Golden Guardians also drafted to support him. They draft him Graves and Nidalee, plus they draft some very aggressive lanes for Damonte, to lead his lane like they were talking about and help him out. Meanwhile, Wiggily and CLG, he also had a Nidalee game. Both these teams actually had Jace and Nidalee together in games, and Wiggily got it completely turned around on him, lost track of where the opponents were and got surprised. So I think we're going to see a lot more effort from CLG, specifically put into tracking enemy champions very early into the game, jungler and solo laners alike. Let's get right into the bans, though, as no junglers on the ban phase quite yet. Graves and Trundle, two of the most highly prized. Usually the Trundle players are going to want to ban Graves so you don't get abused like we saw a couple times in week one. Phase rush Graves can really chase you down pretty easily.
And we can see Varus still living in his lovely apartment on 1234 Permaban This Dude Avenue, where he has been since the beginning of the split. Red side is pretty much forced to ban him away. Nobody wants to deal with that. But speaking of dealing with something, I got 200 reasons why CLG just started the draft off well, Kobe.
Aphelios is very good at scaling, and this is a highlight. A lot of teams have been early picking this champion. The 4 top S-tier AD carries right now: Varus, Kalista, Aphelios, and Ezreal. Now, Kalista and Varus are both banned, and if the team chooses the Aphelios, the more scaling option there, they're probably also going to choose more of a standard frontline. And like we talked about, Graves is already banned, so Trundle's probably going to rise in priority for them here. On the other side, Golden Guardians, they quickly picked up that other S-tier AD carry we talked about. Ezreal right now is S-tier because so good with the regular Muramana build, plus you can get a lot of defense built innately into it with the Iceborne Gauntlet. And of course, Death Dance, everybody's been slapping that one on as well.
Oh yeah, Death Dance all over the place, daily, nightly, ever so rightly. Along with the Ezreal, we're going to see Golden Guardians lock in the Sett. And CLG, just as you predicted, they're thinking about Trundle. They locked that one in. And then something a bit more surprising, a bit more unorthodox, Twisted Fate locked in here for CLG.
And Twisted Fate, if you have a Trundle Aphelios team, to me seems like it's trying to cover a lot of offensive plays from your opponents early on. Trundle is not going to have priority in the jungle. He's very good at farming. He's very good at focusing on objectives. And Aphelios actually has, even though all the memes about him scaling into the late game are very true, his early game and his lane phase are not that powerful. So Twisted Fate, I think it's going to be a good pick for Pobelter to try and put out fires across the map for CLG, which is probably a good thing. Since he's joined this team, it feels like Pobelter has been trying to put out fires. On the other side, you talked about it. Sett to me is a super highly prized pick because it's very flexible. They immediately lock in the Nidalee though for closer. No surprise. We talked about Graves, Nidalee, these power farming, very aggressive junglers that Golden Guardians want to set closer up. to go invade on their opponents. And again, there's nothing that Trundle really does to Nidalee. He kind of has to dodge spears and walk away.
Now that you word it like that, Kobe, you know what I really want to see and what I really wish Riot would do? Skins team, if you're listening right now, pay attention because I'm about to make you guys a lot of money. Firefighter Twisted Fate, where when he shows up, it puts a fire hydrant on the ground, and then when he actually arrives, it bursts up into a bunch of water, and he starts throwing water at people to put out the fires in his side lanes and make sure he can carry his teammates who might be struggling. Ooh. Firefighter Twisted Fate. We already have a firefighter line. It fits in perfectly. Whether or not that happens, he is going to be going up against the Zoe there in the mid lane. Damonte will be on that one. We've seen this champion wreak plenty of havoc in the mid lane before. Ever since she's been introduced to the game, she has been pretty much a constant staple in mid lane play. And CLG is going to round things out with more beef, more frontline. It's Nautilus in the bottom lane. We've seen that plenty of times. And Volibear. This champion released, and he was bad. And now we buffed him, and he's not.
Yeah, this is one of the funny stories where on release, Volibear, I know specifically in the jungle, was the lowest win rate jungle of any character in the game after the rework. And then, boom, hotfix, and a patch later with a bunch of buffs, he rose up to the highest win rate jungle champion of every champion in the game. Since then, they toned him down a little bit. And this is going to be a top lane Volibear. The key is to identify Golden Guardians stacked a lot of their draft resources into poke. So very clear poke composition from the Golden Guardians. And you always want hard engage versus poke compositions, because if the poke composition gets that early lead, starts sieging up towers, you need some way to break the siege. And you can do a Messiah Twisted Fate move, which is an old classic people might not all associate, but you teleport in with the gold card, have a Zhonya's, try and bait in the enemy team. Plus, their last two picks, Nautilus and Volibear, both of which have hard engage now.
You got to be careful making those boomer League of Legends references these days, Kobe. This game's been out for 10 years now. So a lot of players, they don't know about the Messiah. They don't know about the Empire. They don't know. I would dare to say some probably don't even know what the XPeke is at this point in time. We're at season 10 now.
They're about to learn about the POB, and maybe they can associate it with Pobelter then, because Pobelter has carried a lot of hopes for CLG.
Pobelter going up against Damonte, and I really like this matchup in particular because although we're playing in North America, my friend, we only have 2 NA mids left among these 10 teams. And Pobelter versus Damonte, now, in a lot of situations, you might think, hey, being second best is great. You know what? A silver medal, that works out pretty well, right? But silver medal's not that great if it's a contest of 2. So being the best North American mid means you're also not the worst North American mid. And that's what I'm looking forward to see between these two. Which one's got better carry pants?
Also, I just always like people that strive for greatness, and number 2 is not an option no matter how many contestants there are. Be number 1. Go get it. All right, let's get onto the Rift pretty soon here. Actually, I might have baited myself.
No, we're onto the Rift. I do want to point out that Ruin is running Conqueror on the Volibear. Sometimes we do see a couple of different keystones, at least what I've seen on him. I've seen some people run Conqueror, some people running Press the Attack.
Yeah.
Generally, they are going into that tree, but it will be Conqueror this time around, so less burst in the lane with the early trades, but does have more sustained damage power. Pobelter also going to be running Summoner's Spellbook there on the mid lane TF. Same can be said for Damonte's Zoe.
Yeah, so let's dive into it a little bit more for the keystones, because it is really interesting, you know, with the rework for Volibear. Everybody's trying to figure out what sort of things are actually optimal on him. And the keystone choice, because he has so many possibilities, depends a lot on your matchup and on the game that you're looking at. Now, for me, I love Press the Attack because of the burst damage you're talking about. Your W will apply a stack to count towards your 3 hit. So it really is good for burst situations. But look, he's going up against Sett. And it's very difficult to burst a Sett, as everybody has now finally learned with the Haymaker shield, with the regeneration on the champion. So Rune is thinking he's going to have a bit more of extended trades. And in extended trades, I always opt for the Conqueror Keystone, because you can stack it up the entire time. And then you get a lot of value in the longer fights out of the healing from it, which can allow the Volibear to actually stick with Sett. as you're seeing here, in some situations where almost no other champions have been able to go versus Sett early on, everyone's like, oh yeah, every matchup pretty much early on is advantage for Sett because of the double hit passive where you have the 1-2 punch. He has a really good burst combination. But Volibear can stand his ground there, and one of the big reasons for the pick. Now, you can also go Phase Rush and Predator with Volibear for extra mobility, but that requires you to take advantage of that mobility in playmaking, and it's a lot less consistent.
Bottom side, Smoothie gets a little bit of an initiation down onto the Golden Guardians players, and followed up by some damage from Stixxay to give them a decent enough spot here in this lane. You can see Stixxay's guns, currently has a scythe pistol and a sniper rifle, but we're going to see Closer make his way down to the bottom lane now as well. Smoothie in some trouble here, having to flash away, dodges out of the spear, down to 100 HP, but he will not be taken down. Good moves there from Closer, making sure he's getting involved nice and early.
And we saw this last time as well. Every time we have a Nidalee in game, I want to point out how efficient can they be with their ganks. He makes a 3-second, almost, even less than that, visit down to the bottom side because they've got crowd control here to set him up for success. So you show your face down there, you throw one spear, you got a summoner spell. Smoothie got half his health chunked out. No flash on the Nautilus now, so Golden Guardians already opening up that advantage on the bottom side, and then Nidalee can get right back to power farming. So far, though, we should shout out because Wiggily is definitely one that everyone's going to have at a disadvantage in this matchup. Him versus Closer, probably lopsided, but he's done a good job now reverse clearing up to the top side scuttle because he saw where Closer was, and he's going to be able to remain even in farm. He'll get the top scuttle, then could even do his own farm.
Getting back to base now, getting those jungle items ready to go. Control ward also in the inventory to make sure he's continuing to help the team, not just with damage, but in keeping track of where everybody's going to be. Ruin continuing to win these trades against Hauntzer, nearly taking him down there. Just a little bit more would have been enough. But honestly, that flash just... Greed is a deadly sin, Kobe. He knows that his opponent still had that shield ready to go. He flashes to try to make it happen anyway. Summoner spell won't get him anything.
Yeah, because when you say that, I'm like, did he know? Is he keeping track of the abilities that are used here? Because it looked like Ruin got baited there. And that's a scenario where you're like, ooh, if he had press attack for a burst damage, maybe he would surprise Hauntzer and be able to burst him before Hauntzer got off the Haymaker or something. That's super risky, but Ruin there now down the summoner spell, like you pointed out, I think completely baited and outsmarted there by Hauntzer, who, in a bad trade was able to get a summoner spell advantage. So yeah. I feel like Hauntzer still is providing a lot of these really good plays, and has kind of gone under the radar for a little bit with Closer and Damonte really taking the spotlight here for Golden Guardians and a lot of their recent successes.
And I want to make sure that we're honest about it, because I really want to not... I don't think it's as much credit to Hauntzer as it is just Ruin making a play that you would expect to see in solo queue, but not in professional play. I mean, yeah, good for Hauntzer saving the shield. Like, Hauntzer didn't waste his shield, but Ruin just seems way too bloodthirsty here. He is getting a better trade. Once again, he does win the trades really hard. We're seeing that. Hauntzer dragging him back underneath the turret, manages to make it almost even. Now with that regeneration, it will become so. But you can see Ruin really just flexing the muscles on this champion, showing how strong he is after those buffs. And it's so incredibly front-loaded, too. You see so much damage just come out, boom, half a second. You're taking a huge chunk of your HP.
And there's two things that you want to point out with that play as well. One of them is the build. He's rushed double Doran's blades, so there's a reason he is being so aggressive. Here, Nidalee gets caught.
Closer is done. First blood over to Pobelter. Wheeling and dealing them cards as Ruin has teleported down into the fight, looking to make it even more. Huhi trying to walk away, but oh no, sir. Ruin says not today, and he will grab another here for his team. That is a 2-0 play for CLG.
He may have got baited on the top side, but he'll teleport down to the rest of the team and get CLG a big lead here. First of all, Pobelter is able to catch Closer along with the roam from Smoothie and Stixxay. Smoothie heads up, Nautilus is able to get the hook, and your Twisted Fate putting out fires already. I think Wiggily and Smoothie here, really big credit to them for comboing the Trundle pillar into Nautilus ultimate. I would also lay criticism at Closer for not flashing that. Nautilus Hook is definitely a flashable ability, as the animation windup is definitely telegraphs what he's going for there. So Closer was probably looking at a different area. Maybe he was looking at Pobelter coming from the mid lane rather than the Nautilus Trundle on the bottom side. He fails to flash out of it, and CLG actually start off with 2 kills for themselves.
Hauntzer goes in for the face breaker here, seeing what they can find. Manages to pull Ruin backwards there with the ulti. Nearly has him taken down, but Ruin will be alive only for a moment. The haymaker mollywops that big old bear right upside the jaw. That is the first kill of the game here now for the Golden Guardians.
You know, that also means that since Ruin uses teleport down to the bottom side, he's not going to have his teleport to get back up to that big minion wave. So really good timing on that gank coordination between Hauntzer talking about the state of his minion wave to tell Closer this is the perfect time. If we get a kill here, not only do we kill Ruin, but we also deny him a big minion wave. And you can see that minion wave dying on the turret while CLG answer on the bottom half of the map, which becomes their strong side as Closer revealed himself top side. And Wiggily is able to keep his focus on the objectives.
Wiggily getting that objective and also being able to hand this blue off to his own mid laner. Stealing away the enemy blue buff is one thing, but oftentimes you will have to smite it if they're contesting it. But being able to steal it and give it away to Pobelter, make sure he has that extra mana regeneration, feels even better, man.
Yeah, definitely does. Feels fine to me.
Oh yeah, if you're the jungler, you're like, oh, sorry, bro, I had to smite it. It was contested. You know how these things go. But in terms of actual health for the team, I would say you generally prefer to be able to give it to the mid laner. I'm with you, though. I'm with you. Now, top side, Hauntzer and Ruin. Both of these guys dead even in farm. Both rocking some shiny new footwear. Ninja Tabby's ready to go here to resist some of the auto attack damage. Both of them going to be putting out a ton of that. So we'll see which jungler decides to invest more up here, because as we've seen the entire time, it is just mostly Ruin owning the 1v1 matchup. If Wiggily comes up there, maybe they can make a dive happen. If Closer shows up, they've obviously already shown they can turn things around onto Ruin, but Wiggily seems to be heading into the Rift Herald pit for now. Maybe he can grab even more objectives. I can hear you, sir. I didn't hear you, but I was talking too, so if you were talking, we were talking over each other, and it sounded awful. But now we're back. It's synergy time, baby. Let's get right back on it. Rift Herald secured, CLG. All right, FBI farming up down here in the bottom side. Golden Guardians still only down about 400 gold. Honestly, not a terrible place to be in. Again, when we've talked about CLG, we talked about their problems in spring and what they wanted to fix coming into summer, and even just their short-term goals. It's better communication, it's better mindfulness in these skirmishes and small fights, it's better awareness of exactly where everybody is and how long it's going to take them to get there. So we'll see if any of those windows open up around those sorts of weaknesses in CLG for the Golden Guardians to punish. But this has been, honestly, one of the better starts we've seen out of them in a while. And now we got ourselves a fight breaking out. It's actually huhi who's in trouble. It's CLG making the picks. Smoothie going into the stasis, keeping himself alive, preventing some of that poke damage coming through. Pobelter in danger. More skill shots flying out. They're trying to provide covering fire, trying to save Private Pobe. Can they do it? The spear will not find the mark, but Closer's still looking to find even more. The Penguin drops the dab, but here comes Damonte, looking for the last little bit of damage, but he will not find it here today, and CLG gets their man out alive. Stixxay had to use the flash there. Smoothie also having to use the flash. Stopwatch expended, so plenty of resources used by CLG. But when you use the resources and you accomplish what you aim to accomplish, you call that worth. Golden Guardians not able to find the return kill there. Now a 3-1 game. Hauntzer and Ruin continuing this 1v1. And what's that? dear viewers, it looks like things may have turned up here. Hauntzer getting the better of Ruin in the 1v1 at the start, or is he? Ruin running him down, slam it into the ground. Here comes the reverse slam. They are just juggling each other back and forth, throwing them around on the flying trapeze. But nobody's dropping here today. The meatballs are just too big, and they cannot beat each other down 1v1. Hauntzer backs up, regenerates here a little bit. Got the health potion ticking away. Seeing if maybe he'll be able to regenerate enough to stay safe here in this lane. Shouldn't have any problem doing so. Sett, a resourceless champion, and you've got Volibear having to spam some mana. He's almost out of that, so he's just going to have to go back to base, refuel up on that a little bit. You can see him going for the Trinity Force. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have ever listened to anything I have ever said on this broadcast, you know that I love Trinity Forces. It is a Chad item for Chad builds. And that's what I want to see out of this Volibear, is him making some moves. CLG pushing down into the bottom lane now. 4-man push. Shelly is alive. Closer coming in, but what can he even do? Huhi under pressure. TP coming in. Another TP coming in. It's gonna be a bloodbath. Pobelter has already been shut down, and FBI's got the kill. CLG, they try to hard force this, but Golden Guardians is there with the response. CLG is not coordinated enough. They are not strong enough to make this one work. Golden Guardians not syncing up the CC properly there, but remember what I said earlier. I said Stixxay had to flash in that previous play. It was worth it then. It's not worth it now because of Aphelios. I don't care how overpowered he is in the late game. It's just as Kobe said. He's not going to be able to do that early on until he gets the items. With Aphelios down, that means Golden Guardians have the fight secured. They're going to grab the Cloud Drake, tie up that Drake count, stop CLG towards stacking towards a Soul as a win condition.
All right, gonna give it another try as far as talking here and see if it goes out to stream or not, because I hear you fine, Flowers. Let's get into the replay. Pobelter goes super deep past the turret here, and a little bit too deep as Golden Guardians then have the collapse from Damonte, and the channel comes through. The rest of CLG on the other side with the tower can't do anything to help him out, and then it's just gonna be a run for the hills here. Hauntzer, he's able to get the extra speed off the minions there and then just run straight at Stixxay. You see he flashes to a point so that he will have minions behind him to get the stun onto Stixxay with his E there. So very nicely done by Hauntzer to make a big play for the team once again, coming down with the Sett and hitting that flash.
Man, this game is 3-3. It's 23.3 to 23.5 thousand gold. It is such a close battle between these two teams, but CLG will manage to grab themselves that first turret of the game, get the bonus gold from that. Plates are now down. We're almost 15 minutes into the game. But honestly, I think this is closer than people were expecting, specifically because closer on the Nidalee, he hasn't been off to this rocket of a start that you would hope that he could if he's playing a champion like this, if he's playing one of these early snowbally gank the lanes, keep the tempo up, but he still does have a CS lead over his opponent. He still does have a 2-level advantage, and I'm curious to see where he goes from here.
Yeah, it's still going to be a similar game plan for Golden Guardians. They still have a lot of poke tools that they can use and try and play off the synergies when they group up, try and come and siege down these targets. They are going to have a lot.
Kobe, are you good, brother? All right, here we go. Oh.
A lot of things to look out for, though. Like we talked in Champion Select, best counter.
I got about half the words you just said, so the words that I did get were Volibear and Nautilus. And when I hear Volibear and Nautilus, I think meatballs. And that's what CLG's got a lot of. Somebody grab the spaghetti because the side dish is prepared. This front line is going to be tanky. These guys will be able to properly protect Twisted Fate and Aphelios. And although Twisted Fate doesn't have the highest sustained damage in the world, obviously he's meant for picks. He's meant for throwing out a little bit of poke with those wild cards. It's Aphelios that will be the cannon for this team as we move further in. But right now it's the Golden Guardians on to that second Rift Herald of the match. We saw CLG get the first one, use it bottom lane in an attempted tier 1 turret play. However, it ended up getting punished when Golden Guardians was able to bring down appropriate manpower to stop it. Now Hauntzer's in a lot of trouble, using the ulti, trying to reposition himself and get away. Haymaker's gonna provide the shield, but here we go, ladies and gentlemen, it is Pobelter once again getting himself a kill and making things happen for CLG. Now, what can they do with the kill? Their opponents have just taken the Rift Herald, so there's no neutral objective to fight for on this map. However, since plates have been down for the last 2 minutes, CLG has the opportunity to push forward, Rift Herald or not. Golden Guardians does not feel comfortable trying to stop this. Smoothie's going in. The turret's still going to be kept alive, but it does not matter, and the chain CC is there. Tanner time, I don't think so. Stop the clocks, because CLG is making these plays happen. 5-3 now, and a 2,000 gold lead for a team that honestly came into this split and people were expecting them to have a lot of struggles. They really struggled in their first game, but it's been improvement in these most recent two, and that's been a lot of fun to see. Now I want to see, with a 2,000 gold lead, 17 minutes into the game, with the turret advantage, with the kill advantage, how is this mid-game going to play out? They have the comp for it. 3 meatballs and Aphelios seems good. Feels good, man. Now, can they execute? Can they continue to cleanly, not just perpetuate this lead, I should say, but build this up further to a point where then they're able to force fights on these remaining objectives, on that remaining tier 1 turret on the top side, push up into the enemy jungle, maneuver around wards, clear out vision, set up for picks, and control this game like you would expect from a higher tier team. That's the question I'm posing now for CLG. Because I said in week 1, this is a team with a ship with more holes in it than a block of Swiss cheese. You can kind of just put your hand anywhere and start plugging up a hole for all the problems that were happening for CLG in spring. And I want to see how many of those holes have been fixed. How much water are we still taking on board this ship, boys? And for Golden Guardians, well, this is a team that, remember, everybody in spring was saying Golden Guardians are going to be 10th. Usually with a Keck W after. That too. But Golden Guardians managed to make themselves... I don't know if you guys can hear Kobe on the screen, but I can hear it, so I'm trying to play around that. So what's actually happening here is Golden Guardians, in a fight that's not going too well for them, Closer and Huhi losing half HP. And now we're going to see if Smoothie's able to get himself away from this one. Wiggily going to be taken nearly down now. Huhi under pressure. Ruin able to grab the kill. Damonte looking for a return kill onto Stixxay, who will be taken down to 1/4. Ruin trying to run away from the counterattack of FBI. Golden Guardian still with the opportunity to poke here. Smoothie very much in danger of death if he sticks around here any longer. It is 1 kill for the side of CLG. Nothing for the Golden Guardians. However, the health bars of CLG put them at a point where too many of their players have to reset or at least leave the immediate area, and it's Golden Guardians who get away with taking the neutral objectives afterwards. You trade one of your players for a Drake, I'll take that trade. I'll take that trade any day of the week. All right, let's reset. This is so much easier when I have another guy who has intelligent points to make. The worst part is, Kobe's the smart caster too. So normally he has all the super smart 5-head stuff to say in these downtimes, and I just talk fast when guys are dying on the screen. But now I've got no guys dying on the screen. I don't have my smart guy. So we're just going to try to improvise and talk about whatever makes the most sense in the moment. Whatever makes the most sense in the moment to me right now is the fact that CLG is continuing to build these leads. It's not just stagnant, it's not just steady, it's going up and to the right. Exactly where you want to see that graph go. Now, for Golden Guardians, they got... Oh, I got my smart guy back! Yes! All right, tag in, bro. Uh-oh. Wait, they cannot still hear Kobe. So if you guys think it sounds like I'm talking to myself, I promise, Kobe was actually back, and he was talking to me, and it was really cool, and it was fun. And no, I am not just having a flashback segment during the show where I'm remembering the good times with Kobe as we hear Sarah McLachlan's I Will Remember You play in the background. This is real, I promise. It's real. But to you guys, it's apparently not, so it seems like I'm losing my mind. It has been about 4 months of quarantine, but I think it would take a little bit more than that before I went completely loco. So we're just going to hang out here, see what happens to this mid lane tier 1 turret. Stixxay firing off the ulti. Not going to find a connection on that one, but Golden Guardian still looking to push this one down. Stixxay half HP. Damonte making sure of that. CC coming down onto the Golden Guardians mid laner. Ruin looking for the flank. Not going to find the opportunity to land anything onto the Zoe. CLG will maintain this position here in the mid lane. 4 men strong. Turret at about 10%. And now they do managed to take a tier 2 in the top lane. Pobelter, the one who wasn't here trying to defend this turret. Of course, eventually, they will lose that tier 1, but you take a tier 2 in exchange for it. You call that worth in the all chat every single day of the week. We've got emotes now here in the LCS. I would kind of like to start seeing some some all-chat banter to really round it out and bring professional play that much closer to the solo queue experience for the everyman and every woman. Every person who plays League of Legends knows about typing worth in the all chat and spamming emotes when you get something, even though it looks like your opponents thought they won. So that's kind of what I want to see. Bring it home. Show everybody exactly pro players are just like us, except 1,000 LP higher. Now, back to the state of the game. We've got 38.8 thousand gold for CLG, 35.9 thousand for the Golden Guardians. That 3,000 gold lead I was talking about 3 minutes ago, that's been pretty level moving forward. Now, 3,000 gold isn't anything that you're going to be writing your last will and testament about, oh no, the game's over, GG, it's done, we're doomed. However, still a pretty sizable lead here for Counter Logic Gaming as they look to make even more plays. Smoothie going forward, not going to find the dredge line on to FBI, but ladies and gentlemen, Pobelter coming around from the side. He is notorious, he is glorious, and Counter Logic Gaming is going deep behind enemy lines. Huhi's tanking up, but he's going right back into the fight. These CLG meatballs cannot be squashed. Look at this dog pile. It is a double kill for Ruin, and they will clean up 4. They will take a turret, and they will march over to the Baron pit.
I'm here for the celebration. We're back again, Flowers. CLG. Looks like they were able to perfectly execute everything I said during that outage there. Just, really chef's kiss right there. Really well done.
Yes,
honestly,
yes.
though. Able to combine the Volibear tower dive. Now they're going to be able to pick up the Baron and press forward. This is such a heartening revival for this CLG team. After starting summer with getting perfect game, talking about they had actually made a lot of improvements they felt during the off season, and now we're going to see some of that on stage in action here. Smoothie flashes in, gets the knock up onto FBI, and Pobelter comes through with the flash on Twisted Fate to make sure they get their target. And then you follow it up, Volibear's ultimate, best thing about the entire kit for this champion, turning off the tower, empowering them to fully dive through and destroy the Golden Guardians because they already took out the DPS threat of the Ezreal. AD carry is no longer there. So yeah, I guess I'm back in time just for the CLG party.
Well, there's going to be another party going on, my friend. Even if you might have arrived late to the first one, the cool part about these guys is they seem to be throwing them daily, nightly, ever so rightly, and they are once again sieging up against Golden Guardians territory. Sleepy Trouble Bubble connects on to Stixxay, but he's got so many bodyguards, he will not be taken down. However, very low health bars coming out now on to Smoothie and Stixxay both. Smoothie down to 200 HP. Got to be careful here. Sidestepping away from True Shot Barrage, staying alive. Another Trouble Bubble connecting now onto Wiggily. The follow-up is there, however, not enough to actually take him down. Again, the tankiness, so important for this CLG roster. And now Golden Guardians, who have been on the back foot, who are now down 7,000 gold, have managed to acquire themselves a game state where they are in a spot to be stronger for the brief moment they need to take that third Drake and put themselves at soul point. Really big stuff for them.
Yeah, they're able to run CLG off of their own base and chase them down with these skill shots, but it's still going to be such an uphill battle considering their team composition here for the Golden Guardians. CLG have a lot of momentum, and they really need to have it as their highest priority to defend against that possible soul point you're talking about for Golden Guardians coming up next.
Yep.
They still have another pretty much minute, 2 more minion waves to work with this Baron buff. Let's see if Golden Guardians can keep their inhibitor turret standing, because that's the main point of defense right now, trying to outlast this Baron buff. Not enough people in place to defend on this top side quite yet. See if they get the rotation over.
40 seconds remaining on Baron buff means we might get to see one more wave after this minion wave gets cold off. Golden Guardians doing everything they can to expedite that process. True Shot Barrage fired off of the minion wave just to clear it all out. 20 seconds remaining. That last wave going to crash up here with only a little bit of time left to make any use of it. Fortunately for the side of CLG, they only need one more attack of any kind onto that tier 3 turret to take it down. We could very easily see a fight here if Golden Guardians do not recognize this situation and back up. Red turret destroyed, you can see it on the screen. CLG walking up. So many engage mechanisms here with this Nautilus, with the ability of Pobelter to follow up. Dredge line finds its way onto Damonte. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. CLG looking to make the fight. No, they're not.
Yeah.
But he's backing away. I revved the gas up, man. I had my foot on that accelerator. We were ready to go, and then the light never went off for red. So
That's all right.
CLG, back away.
You've been on all game long. You just got to keep it rolling there. Smoothie had a good engage. I mean, you saw what he did. He lined up his Q with the origin point for Damonte, knowing that Zoe pops right back there as soon as she R's. So he had a good engage and gets the double knockup. But Golden Guardians are able to live another day, able to push them back after they take down one inhibitor. CLG don't have to take their feet off of that gas pedal because Pobelter, ready to go again, does have the Twisted Fate ultimate, and he's almost got a death cat complete. So he will annihilate turrets and champions alike, and CLG can press home with this lead. We're reaching the point that we talked about with the Aphelios and Trundle scaling, where Trundle can just shred somebody. Aphelios annihilates anyone who stands there. You can see both Stixxay and Ruin are building Death Dance for themselves.
Oh,
Ruin,
baby.
yeah, gonna have that frontline Volibear.
That's Chad Volibear, man. That's Trinity Force Death's Dance. That's how you flex on him.
That's for sure what he's looking for this game. All right, let's see if the split 4-1 does work. Currently, they do have Ruin up through the mid lane here, so they're not going to bring him over to use his ult to turn off this tower, and it looks like they're just going to slowly wear away as he runs right up the mid lane. Twisted Fate ultimate, that tower is going to get two-shot.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen, utilizing the power of Pobelter. Switching lanes, changing the game plan, making it difficult for Golden Guardians to be able to respond in time. Not only will they get the mid lane tier 3, now that bottom lane tier 2 is vulnerable, and the rest of the squad will continue pushing as a unit. FBI and huhi here trying to stop them, but Stixxay steps up there, just gets a little bit of damage down onto FBI. Ruin and Pobelter, meanwhile, going to grab the second inhibitor from the Golden Guardians base. Only this one lane left standing intact. Can CLG close this out cleanly? That's what the fans want to see. They want to see these guys work together all the way till the end. No silly throws, no goofy fiestas, no question mark pings. Close it out clean. This is an 8,000 gold lead. This is a 2 inhibitor game. And this is Ruin and Hauntzer just getting into the 1v1 here in the mid lane. Hauntzer winning out because it's Ruin underneath the Nexus turrets. Hauntzer continues chasing, but as Sett, you don't have the greatest chase down power in the world. Not a lot of mobility and lockdown there after the initial ulti power has been expended. CLG continuing to push now in this bottom lane. Teleport coming in to make sure the minions don't die off. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Turret dive coming out. Turret about to drop down. And it's CLG all the way into the face of the Golden Guardians. The health bars are dropping rapidly, and Damonte is the first to die. Hauntzer has to run away. Remember, the Sett ulti is not available for this fight. Closer having to retreat from Ruin. He's low health, but it does not matter. FBI now locked down. This game is surely over. The bear is surely dead, and it is a triple kill for Stixxay. CLG. 14-4, maybe 15-4 if they can pad the stats a little bit. I don't even know if they care. I think at this point, you're just looking at Nexus. Pobelter flashing the "this is fine" Soraka. The Golden Guardians house burns down, and it's CLG with the match in their hand. They take this one, 14-5.
Arson! Oh no! Honestly, this is Counter Logic Gaming with a positive record already in week 2, Clayton. This is just leaps and bounds ahead of where they were in Spring Split. Completely upward trend here. They're able to proactively use aggressive play from Ruin on the Volibear, teleporting down to help out the rest of the team with those fights. Bit of a pincer movement when they had that really early catch onto Nidalee, onto Closer, where they had the Nautilus and Twisted Fate, able to stun lock him and get that early kill. And then they split the map. They split push extremely well. Pobelter on the Twisted Fate, taking so many of those turrets. So really well executed game plan from them.
And it was so well executed by everyone on CLG. That's the thing that stands out to me. There was nobody on this team that you're like, okay, they're dragging his body across the finish line. It'll all work out eventually. He didn't have a great game, but hey, the rest of the team did. Everybody was doing what they needed to do. Ruin was winning there in the side lane. We saw Wiggily constantly be available on the Trundle to place down the pillars, make sure the fights happened where they needed to.
He didn't die once either. Perfect KDA for Wiggily.
Pobelter and Stixxay were there to provide the damage, make sure they bursted out the targets they needed to, and Smoothie, time after time, getting good initiations, using the dredge lines and the ultimates to make sure they were locking down anybody who dared step within a mile of this CLG composition. I just thought everybody played so well together. They all did exactly the job they needed to do to make sure they win this. And this looks like a team that is improving. Not too much faith now. We all know how CLG and Faith work together. But more faith than I previously had in CLG. They're building it game by game.
Yeah, honestly, seeing an underdog team like that get a big win and get a big win by every member stepping up, by every member contributing, I think is definitely one of the happier stories of the league because, man, they have been scrapping it for a while.
And now to hear from the victorious bottom laner, we have Pastry Time standing by with the Verizon post-game interview with Stixxay. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Captain Flowers. Excellent job, by the way. That was certainly something rough for you, but you did a great job solo casting for a lot of it. I am here with Stixxay, though, with another CLG victory. It seems like people are sounding surprised, but how are you feeling? Because that looks like a very clean game.
Yeah, I mean, it feels pretty good. I think some of our biggest issues that we've had is kind of just translating like our progress in scrims to stage. We've been having a lot of like nerves and stuff like that going into stage. And I think today was like the first day of many, hopefully, that we were able to actually, pop off and do well on stage.
Is there anything in particular that's contributing to that, whether it's in-game, like the compositions maybe being a bit simpler, or out of game?
I think it's a mix. We kind of figured out our draft. We've been talking a lot about draft more as a team, having like late night meetings and stuff like that. On top of that, we're just trying to go into every game just really confident because, we know what we're capable of, we know what we can do. So we're just trying to show that in front of everyone.
Is there anything to kind of maybe off-season prep that was happening? Of course, there were no changes to the CLG roster. Do you think that helped kind of prepare and get everyone on the same page so that you could start off the summer stronger?
Honestly, I think the biggest thing that the offseason did was just kind of give everyone a mental reset and, just made everyone realize, let's not overthink things too much. Like, we know what we're doing. We've been pros for a while, so we know that we can do it.
For sure. And then it's been quite an interesting development just kind of watching the meta shifting back and forth in different roles, but it feels like bot lane hasn't changed too much. Are you happy with how the bot lane meta is currently sitting, or would you like things to maybe be shaken up a bit?
Well, for me, Aphelios is a champion that exists, so his kit just in general is like an issue in itself, because pretty much what happens is a lot of teams right now are trading, like Ezreal for Aphelios. That's a very common trade, but at the end of the day, one team has Aphelios and one team has Ezreal, right? So I think his kit is just too strong. I don't really know how to even nerf it or change it, but he is really OP.
Well, certainly you performed on the champion today. We have also had kind of extended conversations about the lighter side of pro life, and emotes are something that have entered pro play recently. How have you found that experience? And more importantly, Stixxay, what is on your emote wheel?
Actually, I have the volley icon on my wheel today, but usually I have the dabbing penguin. So I was actually a bit disappointed. I used the emote in game, and I didn't have the dabbing penguin for today. So I have to fix that for today or for tomorrow for sure.
Yeah, certainly a check you'll have to make sure. And then final question for you. You do have another game this weekend. Tomorrow you'll play your old teammate Aphelios. Are you looking forward to playing out your old support?
Yeah, I think Dig's a team that you can never sleep on. They have a lot of experience on their team, and I think all their players are good. So hopefully it should be a good match tomorrow.
All right, well, thank you so much, and congratulations on the win today. We're stepping away, but on the other side, the State Farm Analyst Desk breaks down the results of Game 1.
Whole lot of hell out here. Come on, Sentinel. Yeehaw! Used to hunt monsters. Now, I still hunt monsters. Whoa, partner! You ain't going nowhere.
None can do what I do.
Scurry, weakling.
These blades were whetted on the bones of tyrants.
Welcome back to the LCS Dome powered by Alienware, where we just caught game number 1 of Friday Night League. But before we end up breaking down the very important victory for CLG, there is another important matter, which is the fact that y'all suck at making predictions, and no one listened to the Prophet. And Mark, you specifically wanted to call out that you didn't want the Prophet to have to come back, but you summoned him yourself.
I even said, like he would predict CLG. I acknowledged it. I just didn't think he'd be right again. It's just like, how many times can Crumbs be right before he's wrong when he's usually wrong so much? I don't understand it.
But he's the only one to be this right at this point. But I'm going to give y'all another chance to be right in your own right. So, Golden Glue, first things first. As far as this matchup goes, you were saying in our little conversation before that you feel some of this was determined just from the draft?
Yeah, when I looked at the team comps, it kind of seemed to me that it's going to be really hard to play this poke comp of Zoe, Nidalee, Ezreal when CLG had just so much hard engage. Volibear provides really good engage. They have Nautilus and Twisted Fate porting in with gold cards. I kind of thought, unless Golden Guardian just snowballed lane phase, that it's going to be really hard to win just any team fight.
Yeah, this is basically a situation where you're playing kind of a 4-1 composition compared to a 1-3-1 who has a lot of hard engage. So before the poke comp could even get off, they were just getting hard engaged on. And yeah, most of the time you see a poke comp, you're like, these guys should get an early lead. And they were close to until they had an invade that just went a little bit wrong, and CLG was able to capitalize and pick up 2 kills.
Well, circling back to that then, probably, as far as that early jungle performance, we mentioned that Wiggily and Closer were 2 people that we were needing to watch. And why was that so important here in this clip?
Yeah, so Closer did this invade at 4 minutes and was successful, so I think this time he got a little complacent and wasn't flashing the hook or anything like that, and what ended up happening is Volibear actually gets a TP advantage from top lane as well, so this invade, which should be just free chickens and your jungler gets ahead, turns into 2 kills for CLG, and then this is the start of CLG actually controlling the map, because TF gets a kill, he gets lane pressure after that, and then Nidalee is not as ahead as she needed to be.
Yeah, I think as soon as Nidalee gets behind and you're playing versus Twisted Fate, it's just so easy for Twisted Fate to port anywhere where Nidalee is, and you can just kill her so easily. And it's kind of prevented Closer from being able to invade more, just because he had that constant threat of just TF porting on him with a gold card.
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, this impacted the way that other players played in the game. You mentioned probably that the Volibear coming from Ruin was important. So, Mark, why was this something that we had to look out for on the side of CLG?
Well, first off, I just want to give a massive shout out to Ruin for actually playing the Volibear as soon as he's, buffed up, and I think it's a super strong pick. It should become higher priority. It's strong into a lot of the melee matchups that you see. He had lane control over Sett the entire time, and he kind of blew his flash getting over aggressive, but he absolutely took over the game in a lot of the team fights and team situations, and you saw that one in the TP play there. Volibear brings so much compared to a lot of Juggernauts, which are just damage. He does have a lot of damage, but he also has the ability to turn off turrets. He gets a lot of health from his ultimate. He has good CC to set up and try and be this frontline engage. And so when you see this play going on, it starts, as this chase down's going on, and Volibear is able to go and make sure that they can continue chasing. Okay, we got 1 pick. Well, we're about to get 2 more because I just turned the turret off for, at this point, 4 seconds at rank, I believe he's like 14-ish, or he's got the rank 2 ultimate, and they're able to take this dive, have the turret off the entire time. It's one of the most powerful things about Volibear, as well as just, not really having too many downsides throughout the game. And I expect to see it become a lot more higher priority champion. And we're talking about all the draft advantages CLG had. This was another one for me in the top lane.
Probably, do you feel that this is opened up as far as maybe some future players that we could see bringing this pick to the table? CLG setting this in motion a bit?
Yeah, definitely watching the Volibear laning phase, it does seem a lot stronger than I thought it would be. And then especially, yeah, his turret taking off is, we haven't seen it get abused that much. We did see it in that last clip. But the fact that that's just like an added power dynamic to it makes a champion like really hard to predict how you're going to actually defend against it. And you saw that last clip as well, though. When he TP'd in, the speed he gets from his Q, like he can actually gap close a lot better than old Volibear, because he has like technically 2 gap closers now compared to Volibear's old one. So it's not a super one-dimensional champion that you expected. It's actually like a lot harder to play against now.
Well, yeah, a lot of people also don't know that if you stun Volibear while he's running at you, it just resets the cooldown, so it's actually really hard to stop him from getting on top of you.
Regardless, though, of what CLG ended up bringing to the table, it's very fair to say that these expectations do not align with what people were expecting after getting perfect gamed to start off the LCS for them. Golden Glue, for CLG, looking at it, all the games they've had so far, all 3 of them, what do you make of this? What should we be taking as the audience, considering the drastic differences in performances?
I would say that my biggest takeaway is CLG, I think they had the draft advantage and they executed on it. They had a good team comp around a lot of utility, a lot of CC with Aphelios as a carry, and they executed well on it. I don't think it's too much of a takeaway to take for Golden Guardians. I think their draft was a little bit harder to play when you're a full po comp first engage. So I guess I was just impressed with how well CLG kind of felt like they were playing as a unit. It felt like most of their plays were team plays, and they really did a good job of incorporating everyone into them. So yeah, I was impressed.
Well, props to CLG for perhaps reinvigorating the spirit of some of their fans out there. As far as what we have to come, TSM and Immortals will be taking to the Rift, so you don't want to miss any of that here on Friday Night League.